everybody. It's June. And it's a See You podcast, completely unnecessary, for Tuesday, June 6th, alongside plucky Ian Ferguson.
Howdy.
I'm affable Pat Contry. Talking about stuff that you want to hear, hopefully, this week. We're talking about the final games announced for the Sega Genesis Mini, an R-Type Final 2 Kickstarter, the Xbox Game Pass coming to PC, an NWC sold for a low price. Get out your wallet. You'd be able to afford one. The Atari VCS being on Fox Business News, and your possible Q&A. Ian, how was your weekend? You didn't see Godzilla, you told me before.
No, I'll go see it this week. I'm not expecting much. I imagine it will be amusing. I liked the last one they did, the last US one. A lot of people did
I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I mean, there's only so much you can do with giant monsters hitting each other in the face. There's only so much you can do with it, with the genre, right?
Yeah.
There's a ceiling to this genre.
I mean, and there's new ways you can do it, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna get fights. You're gonna get some
monsters
human drama.
slapping each other in the face.
Yeah. I like the big moth. Mothra is my favorite.
The big moth. Well, he's in this one.
Yeah.
Right. It was in the first. Is it he or she? Whatever. We'll see.
She sometimes.
Sometimes.
I'm
okay.
pretty.
they decide.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's gotten middling reviews. A lot of Godzilla fans have enjoyed it, but some haven't. You said that James didn't like it.
Yeah, James. I spoke to him on the phone recently.
So
and he brought it up. He didn't like the fact that he said that all the fights were at night in the rain. And in the first one, they were all at night.
Yeah.
And then some were I think a couple were in the rain, from what I remember. There's like 3 big fights in the movie.
Yeah.
And then his problem with the one in 2014 was that you don't see Godzilla for like over an hour in. He shows up in Hawaii. It was a great sequence, the Hawaii, the tram thing.
I love that.
That was a good sequence, if I remember. But yeah, the night fights are because it's cheaper CG. You can fudge the details.
Sure.
I mean, they did that way back with Ang Lee's Hulk, where it's like everything was at night. You couldn't see like what the hell was happening with him. Remember? It was like, what?
I hated that movie.
That last fight. Remember? It's like you couldn't see what was going on with him versus.
I couldn't see what was going on because I wasn't fucking paying attention.
That movie
at that point.
That movie was a fucking trip, by the way. Go back and watch that 2003 Hulk movie.
Really? Go back.
It's a trip, just because the whole thing is just a trip to watch with all the panels moving. Like they try to make like a comic book. It was like that weird dark time of comic book movies.
So I saw that movie along with Terminator 3 at a drive-in. And I hated both of them.
Double feature?
I hated those movies.
Double feature?
Yeah, double feature.
Was that some hanky-panky happening in the back?
No, we were just bored.
Okay.
But yeah, it sucked.
So 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think the one 5 years ago did better than that on Rotten Tomatoes. Delivers spectacular kaiju action and reaffirms that cutting-edge effects are still no substitute for a good story. So it sounds like the effects are good, but it's just monsters hitting each other in the face.
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I don't know what people were expecting. But
it's a monster movie. We get them once every like 4 or 5 years. I think they're doing King Kong versus Godzilla next. In this, they basically reestablished. They did a Godzilla cinematic universe because that new Skull Island movie that came out 5 years ago was restarting it because they ignored the King Kong movie that Peter Jackson did that doesn't count with this. So they redid another Skull Island, Return to Skull Island, and they did the Godzilla 5 years ago on this one. So they have a Godzilla cinematic universe, which is silly to say what they do. So they're going to do a King Kong one.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, cinematic universes, whatever. As long as
King Kong is so much smaller than Godzilla by like a factor of 5. So that's what's going to be so weird. Unless they make King Kong super huge, I guess. Or like 3/4 the size, where he's like punching up like Little Mac. But they got to make Godzilla a good guy in all these movies. So I guess with King Kong, I don't know if they'll have King Kong be the good guy or whatever. Or maybe it'd be like a traditional team up comic where like it says Superman versus Spider-Man, but they end up teaming up against the Joker. And
I saw a very good tweet going around, and it said that it was something like the defining moment of King Kong v Godzilla will be when they both realize they know someone named Mothra.
Oh, instead of very clever.
Yeah.
Their Martha moment.
Yeah.
Very clever. Martha Ra. Very clever. I listened to Talk is Jericho's podcast. I love that everyone has a podcast now. JR, Bubba Ray Dudley has a podcast on Sirius XM. Does a good job. I hear Taz has one. I guess if you have an East Coast accent in a wrestler, you automatically get one for those. But anyway, so he had on Jon Moxley, used to be Dean Ambrose, and they recorded it before. This is why I love Jericho, because obviously he's sort of like the bridge from the old school wrestler to the new wrestler.
Yeah.
So even though that you're going to listen to something that that wrestling's a work, in the introduction he said we recorded this before Double or Nothing. And I know he attacked me at Double or Nothing, and he gave me dirty deeds. And if he was on the show afterwards, I would have slapped him in his face. So he still puts it on that.
Yeah,
that it's real wrestling. I love Jericho so much. I like model myself to Jericho, I think, to some extent. Anyway, but he had on Jon Moxley and talked about why. Hour and a half interview. I only listened to the first hour, so to finish it. He talked about why he wanted to leave WWE, and it was everything that we kind of spoke about before, about how it's creatively bankrupt, WWE, and he was sick of fighting sort of the system and basically fighting Vince. He didn't put the writers down. He said the writers sometimes had an idea that might be weird, but a lot of times the ideas came straight from Vince, and then if you push back, there'd be another rewrite of something for him to say. And he said, this is terrible. I don't want to talk about like the people having rabies in the audience. And that's really where it went downhill last year, was when he came back and he turned heel, and then his thing about like wearing like masks so he wasn't infected by the audience. And the whole thing just didn't make any fucking sense at all. It was terrible. And his Rollins feud was disastrously bad. Like, it was just bad. And it seemed like that was the moments last year, like in the summer, early fall, where he said, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore, because he kept fighting against. He's like, he even said, like, I'm a trained professional wrestler, and I know how to put over feuds and get heat and talk to the audience, and now you're having me say this stuff that I know is garbage. And Vince was like, oh, that's some good shit right here. So that's a meme now, where Vince saying that's some good shit right there. And the final straw was when they wanted him to include Roman Reigns' real life leukemia stuff into the promos, and he pushed back on that, and he said he got like Jedi mind tricked by Vince to include it. And I remember watching it live at the time and feeling like, ooh, and you can tell, like, you can see in his face he didn't want to say it. Like, he immediately read it, where he said something like, well, he's like, Rollins, you're going to, because this is after he turned against the Shield after he came back. He said, Rollins, you're going to have to answer to me, but Roman Reigns, he's going to have to answer to the big guy in the sky. And it's just like, really crossed the line bad, mixing in real life stuff.
And it's gross, but that's not the only time that they've brought up.
They did it again, I think.
It wasn't with Ambrose Moxley, though. It was with Slater.
They did with Slater?
No, who's the big guy who came back?
Brock?
No, the one who was I think it was Slater.
Heath Slater's the jobber guy.
Okay, no, it was someone who came back who was big. They were at
Drew McIntyre?
Drew. That's
okay.
It. Yeah,
Heath Slater with Drew McIntyre.
I don't know.
They kind of worked it in a little bit.
He straight up said it. I mean, he straight up brought it up.
But to say that someone's going to potentially die while he's going through literally chemotherapy is horrible. But working
that into anything is awful.
But they did the same thing after Eddie died. They worked. Yeah. They said, or Orton said, "Oh, your friend's in hell." Orton says that to Mysterio, and I mean that was like 11 years ago at this point, 12 years ago already when that happened, right? 2005 or 6 or 7 around there. 2005, I think Eddie died, or 6. So Vince McMahon is obviously morally gross. We know that.
Oh yeah.
But the buck stops with him. So he has he's 73 at this point. 72, 73. He
died in 2005.
2005. He has final say still over the scripts and about everything that happens on TV. He still has his hand on everything. So when Jon Moxley's explaining this, he's like, even the writers sort of know that it's like, yeah, I know it's from Vince. We can't do anything about it, because everyone's fearful for their job. They're fearful to push back on Vince, because you can be fired for that, or you can be ousted, and it's just a strange situation to be in. I can imagine being a pro wrestler like that and being frustrated. And there's, like I said before, a lot of wrestlers are very frustrated and they want out. Gallus wants out with his tag partner. God, I can't remember their names. And then Sasha Banks wants out. The Revival want out. Luke Harper wants out, and this is all public.
Yeah.
EC3. Oh, Ambrose brought up that he had a short-lived feud with EC3, but what he did, and he in EC3, like I said, has been dead in the water. Vince hates him now. So what they tried to do with EC3 is that by this point in time, people knew publicly. They put out a press release saying Ambrose is leaving, which is bizarre. WWE never did that. So then they had a little feud with EC3. Where like he lost in like 2 minutes to a roll up to EC3 Ambrose, which is bizarre because Ambrose is a main eventer and they use him as a jobber. And even Ambrose said like, "What are you doing? The fans aren't going to go for this. They're going to hate him automatically because they're going to root for me as an underdog, even though I'm supposed to be a heel. They know I'm leaving now, and they know what you're going to see in the ring is bullshit because they know you're trying to bury me. And because the fans are smart, they know this stuff. They follow." And he was absolutely right. And so now EC3 is like, he even responded saying thank you and good luck. He didn't say that towards anyone in the tweet, but it was towards the support that Ambrose gave him on the podcast, or Moxley gave him on the podcast to Jericho. So the whole thing's a fucking mess. Everything's a fucking mess. I heard the last Raw was a disaster again. I don't watch anymore, and we need this competition to happen now. We need wrestlers to have even the threat of leaving to go somewhere else. And he reiterated, I think something that Kevin Owens was like talking to Ambrose about like why you want to leave? We're doing all this good stuff here, or it's like we're WWE, and Ambrose was like, I'm this is not what I want to do. Basically, I don't want to be in this environment anymore. Where he said he was like just worn out from years and years of trying to push back against bad ideas. Yeah, and just stuff he didn't want to do. You can see his heart wasn't in it anymore. His heart probably wasn't even in it when he was champion, when they made him goofy. I said when he was world champion, his run was not a good run. No, it was awful. And maybe that was because he was just didn't feel motivated anymore. He was just sick of being. By that point, he was there for like 4 years. At that point. 4 or 5 years by the time he was champion. So yeah, it's just a shame, but better spot right now. So I'm excited for that. Anything else going on in this intro?
I started playing Pokemon Go again.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's been fun. I don't know.
You gonna Pokemon Sleep soon?
Yeah, I'll Pokemon Sleep.
Hey, anything to get you to sleep better, I'm all for it. Get you on a regular sleep schedule. If it takes Pokemon, I'm all for it, buddy. If you need a fucking, anime thing to make you do it better, something children play with, go for it.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. Vonnie, as you know, has been playing it fairly consistently since the day it came out, and I don't know. I think we were watching Pokemon, and I was like, And Vonnie uses my phone sometimes when she goes to the events, and I just randomly opened it and caught a Pokemon, and she was like, she freaked out. Because I mean, it's the first time I'd logged into my account in like 3 years. So it's been fun. We went out at like midnight last night and drove around and took out gyms, and I don't know. It's actually, it's a lot different than it was when it started. There's more to do. But that's about the only exciting thing that's happened to me. So, phone games.
This isn't exciting?
Well,
what we got going on isn't exciting?
This is exciting. I'm talking about, things outside of the podcast cinematic universe.
Oh, okay. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be doing this podcast with you Ian, today.
I can tell.
Fucking thrilled.
All right. Let's launch in.